RPG Book Club LongCast, a podcast where we play a little bit of a lot of video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Ullman.
I'm David Bernard Haupt.
And I'm Grace Rabbit. I have a pill under my tongue.
And today we'll be discussing the second part of Final Fantasy XIII, covering chapters 3 and 4. And yeah, let's just dive right into it today.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
All right. So just because this game has a lot of music and we could just start talking, but I'm going to make a quick pause. I know you just heard our intro theme song, but I'm going to make a pause and listen to some Final Fantasy XIII music because it's all good.
This time around, let's go with Saz's theme, which did play this week. You probably just didn't realize it was Saz's theme.
Okay. I actually have the entire OST up, so I know what song that is. So we will listen to Saz's theme, and then we'll talk about the plot.
Go.
Bernard, take it away.
When we last left our heroes, they were walking down a hallway made of crystal. The gang heads down some more hallways made of crystal for a while. Then Snow says, as though we were in the middle of a conversation, that we gotta fight Ragnarok. He says Sarah, telling them to save Cocoon, completed her focus, so doing that must be their focus. Saz doesn't buy it, because the Pulse Fal'Cie are enemies of Cocoon. Lightning does not want to help the Fal'Cie because it took Sarah from them. Psycom show up. Lightning does tough guy shit and we kill them. Saz is like, that was easy. Snow says because Psycom is specifically an anti-pulse group, they haven't seen real action in centuries. They're rookies with overpriced toys. Lightning says Psycom's elites would still destroy them. Vanille's like, let's run away, and runs away. The rest are fed up with her shit, I'm sure.
I sure am.
The gang properly introduces themselves as they walk through some hallways. Saz says taking on the Pulse Fal'Cie was their first mistake. They've relied on the Sanctum Fal'Cie for food, water, everything, since they were born, so they should have just left the Pulse Fal'Cie to the Sanctum as well. Snow's like, there must have been a reason you helped us fight the Pulse Fal'Cie. Saz says, there might have been. But he's not so sure now. The gang stumbles upon Sarah. Snow tries to dig her out of the surrounding crystal, and Vanille and Saz start to help out. Lightning says, this is goodbye, and turns to leave. Snow's like, are you just gonna leave her? Lightning says Psycom will be there soon, and if they find them, they're all dead. Do you think that's what Sarah would want? You think you know how she feels? Snow says he'll protect Sarah and Cocoon. Lightning punches the shit out of him.
It's a great punch.
Wife.
It is. Does she look protected to you? She says. Snow says he can save her. She punches him again.
There we go.
What could you possibly do? She asks. Anything it takes, he says. The Scorpion robot from last episode shows up and attacks again. It's severely damaged, so naturally it's much more powerful now.
Mm-hmm.
The gang defeats it. Snow still doesn't want to leave. Saz tries to explain that the army will kill them if they don't leave, but Snow's having none of it. Lightning asks whatever happened to banding together and saving the world like he promised. She says he's all talk. Snow says he'll complete his focus and keep Sarah safe, whatever it takes. Lightning says, great job so far, and walks off. Saz follows her. Vanille goes too. Hope hangs back and tries to find the words to say to Snow. Snow tells him to save it for next time. They'll meet again. Hope says, count on it, and follows Lightning. Snow continues digging.
So I love that, like, I don't know if Snow is smart enough to know that Hope hates him, because in my head I kind of read the scene as Snow's like, "It's okay, you can thank me later, it'll be fine." When really he wants to be like, "I'm going to kill you for killing my mom," and he's like, "It's
Yeah, I'm
fine."
not sure.
Yeah.
I think that his acting and the writing makes it seem like he does know, and is
Mhm.
kind of throwing a bit of grace towards Hope here. But I actually don't think Snow's that dumb. I mean, okay, no, he's extremely dumb. But in this particular case, he doesn't know that Hope is that lady's son. So he actually would have no reason to know that the kid hates him, right? That actually wouldn't be a mark of him being dumb. So actually, if he does know or have a hunch, then that's confusing to me.
Yeah,
I
unless
think Snow is like, oh my god, why are you so obsessed with me?
I could see potentially when they were in the big, large, echoey chamber of the vestige and they were talking about it, and Snow was just down a couple steps. Maybe he heard everything,
I'm right
but-
over here, guys.
but he definitely didn't film it as if he overheard it. So,
Also, I want
who
to
knows?
clarify when Bernard says digging Sarah out of the crystal. So y'all know about crystals, diamonds and shit. They're not famous for being
Brittle.
brittle. Yeah. So basically, what Snow's doing here is he's got this giant backhoe that he rented, and no, what he's doing is he's got like a metal object that it was just found. He just fashioned it from found objects. He's just got a piece of metal, and he's jabbing it into the base of the crystal around Sarah, presumably chipping away like a tiny little square millimeter of crystal every time he just jams a sharp object into this hard point. So that's digging, quote unquote, Sarah out, and will presumably take, at this rate, I don't know, a couple years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I was
it's
going to
not
say,
a good plan.
Just to highlight the absolute folly that is taking place here.
yeah, I was going to mention this earlier, but Bernard had set himself up for a joke when I wanted to say it, and I didn't want to steal his thunder for that. But so Snow is like, oh, her last words were "save Cocoon," and then she completed her focus. So obviously that's what we have to do. But if you read the data logs, the whole thing about like a focus and turning to crystal and everything was a myth that they didn't actually know the answer to. So who knows how long that process takes? Maybe the false Palsy was like, "Hey, I'm really thirsty. Can you go get me something to drink? That's your focus." She finishes that, and she's just like, "Oh, by the way, save Cocoon." And like, no one has any point of reference for the things going on here, but
Also,
Snow
if you're-
believes it.
Also, if your focus is to save Cocoon, I highly doubt that telling someone else to save Cocoon qualifies as having
Yeah.
completed it.
Her
I'm
focus might have been to get people to save Cocoon.
That's what my guess. Her
Yeah.
focus was like get lightning in your people to come here, basically. But at any
Yeah.
rate, what was I gonna say? Damn it. Oh, well, I don't know. Just I was doing something else about how this whole about how it's extremely stupid. But whatever. Right, sorry, Sam. I was gonna say you're right that it's only a myth, but this is a JRPG here, so like,
Every myth is 100% true.
Snow. I think it's not too hard to assume that Snow is genre aware to know that anytime something is a myth or legend or prophecy, it is 100% accurate with no caveats, no like
No nuance.
unless there's like a subtle wordplay that results in like an ironic misunderstanding. But other than that, yeah, Snow is just like, yeah, the legend says XYZ, so XYZ will happen exactly that way. It's in order.
So the gang heads off without Snow, and they hold up on a ridge and see an enormous airship in the distance. Troops and cruisers are being deployed to look for purge survivors. Saz says nowhere is safe for them now. Vanille's like, people really hate Pulse, don't they? Saz says they fear it. Vanille brings up the purge, and Saz says the Sanctum Fal'Cie did nothing to stop it. Up until now, the Pulse Fal'Cie Eden always stepped in to correct their errors in judgment. Guess humans aren't worth the effort. Guess they'll just let us kill each other off. And he doesn't actually make it clear that Eden is the Pulse Fal'Cie. I thought he was introducing yet another concept.
You mean the Sanctum Fal'Cie?
Sanctum Fal'Cie, god damn it.
Yeah.
There are
Okay.
so many proper nouns, I knew I was going to fuck it up.
It's
The
okay.
problem is they use the phrase pulse fal'Cie so frequently
Yes.
that I've noticed I'll often say pulse fal'Cie when I mean a different fal'Cie because I put those two words together.
Yeah.
The Sanctum's Pulse Fal'Cie.
Yes.
Hope says l'Cie are not human. Vanille's like, now see here, young man. A bunch of airships fly overhead. Lightning says they have to get moving. They get moving. After a while, Saz wonders what it'll be like to become a crystal if he completes his focus. He doesn't believe Snow, so he doesn't know what his focus is. Vanille asks if Sarah told Lightning anything about her focus. Nothing, Lightning says. Maybe she didn't think she could trust me. They move on.
Can't imagine why she would think that.
We reach a cool area called the Gates of Antiquity. It's like cool ruins. After a while, they make their way to the center of the ruins, and they're attacked by a Psychom monster thing. It's not hard. After, they find some sort of airship they can use. We see Snow's...
Hold on,
Yes.
did you mention, I think there might have been a little bit you missed here. Did you mention that the reason, quote unquote, the quote reason that they were going to this Gates of Eternity or whatever, was because they were trying to, was because they thought maybe because the army was holed up there as a base and they were going to save any remaining prisoners?
They never said that.
They
don't
said that in
remember
the
that.
They said it in the cutscene. They definitely said it in an earlier cutscene. It was one of the ones where they were saying shit about how they're going to save Sarah or whatever.
Are you sure you didn't read that in a data log?
Nope, because I remember making a dumb joke about it at the time, and I didn't read the dialogue till later. So a bunch of spaceships, I always call them spaceships. A bunch of airships were flying at some point, like halfway through this level. And they just say like, "Oh, what are they doing over there? Oh, they must be investigating. Oh, I wonder." Maybe Hope says it like something like, "I wonder if anyone else survived all the disastrous things that happened last chapter." And they're like, "Oh, well, if so, we should save them." And the reason I mention this is that once you get to the place, there definitely are not any prisoners, and you don't save any of them. So
I did mention that they realized the army was rounding up escaped deportees, but I did not mention that the gang decided to go to a specific place to save them, because
Yeah.
that didn't happen.
but they did say that.
No, they said it, but then
Oh yes, but then they
thing didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that the fortress we went to is that place, and the game's writing and graphics weren't really once again weren't really adding up.
Well, anyway, they find some sort of airship they can use. I only know it's an airship because later it's revealed it's an airship. I can't tell what anything is in this game. Now we see Snow still digging at the crystal. He's probably made zero progress. Airships hover over him and confirm they've spotted a pulseless sea. Soldiers drop down and attack. They overwhelm Snow, even if you win the battle. He collapses, but his mark starts glowing. Two hot ladies with wheels on their heads appear. They take out the troops. We see the mysterious
Wow, I
woman
didn't know there was lesbians in this game.
Oh, there's lesbians. We see the mysterious woman from the Bodum flashback and some other soldiers watching the scene from a nearby cliff.
Wow, I didn't know there was lesbians in this game.
Oh, there's lesbians in this game. The hot ladies attack Snow. The tutorial explains that they are an Eidolon, and that if Snow can defeat them, they will lend him their power. After Snow wins, the ladies scissor to become a motorcycle. Snow obtains the Shiva
They
Idolette.
sure do.
Yep, that's what happens. Snow collapses. The mystery woman walks up and congratulates Snow for taking down the Scissor Sisters. She also has an Australian accent, just like someone else. She says there might come a time when he wishes he'd let them end it and made things easy. She karate chops him. knocking him out, and orders her soldiers to take him. Snow comes to, being carried by some soldiers. He sees drones carrying off Sarah. He then notices Mystery Woman has a pulseless E brand, but it's white. Our friends' brands are black. What does that mean? I don't know. He asks why she's helping them. She doesn't answer. The rest of the party boards the airship they found and they take off, but there's bad guy airships too. There's a pretty good chase scene. After they lose their pursuers, the airship's TVs play a news report that says the Sanctum has announced the successful conclusion of the purge and the safe arrival of the Cocoon migrants on Pulse. We see an interview.
Wait a second. That didn't happen at all.
No, the government is lying.
I mean, you can't just you can't just go on TV and lie. You're the government.
Mission accomplished.
There's rules against that.
We got him.
We see an interview with...
Technically, that wasn't a lie. They did get it.
Yes. We see an interview with Primarch Daisley, who looks like an evil JRPG pope, and says there was no alternative to the purge. Side note, I was recently looking up specific instances in which there's an evil JRPG pope, and not that many JRPGs. Not as many as you'd think. Often, like, even if the church is bad, like, the actual pope is good.
Yeah,
Weird.
usually it's like a purge of some kind, or not a purge. What? It's like an infiltrator of some kind, or whatever the church equivalent of an evil chancellor is.
Yes. When asked about the possibility of future purges, he said he would only seek counsel with the fal'Cie Eden before making a decision. The Primarch says that in all the centuries since the War of Transgression, Cocoon has been spared Pulse aggression and prospered. It is essential that we maintain this peace. Vanille's like, who's this guy? Baz is like, he's the fucking Pope, you dumb kid.
Pope
Murderer
and
in
also
chief.
Emperor of our entire country. Like, do you fucking read?
He's the Pope, and we live in the Vatican.
Also, murderer in chief. Yeah, got him.
Yeah. Lightning says, just another tool of the fal'Cie. A poll on the news reports shows 90% approval of the Sanctum's handling of the purge.
People suck. It wasn't even like they swept under the rug the fact that they killed people. Like, because Lightning and Saws like destroyed the train or whatever, like they murdered people in plain daylight, and like there was a whole lot of people out there just killing, and the people at home were just like, you know what? That's a good thing we're doing right there. A plus.
Well, Sam, they deserve to be mowed down in the streets. They were destroying property.
Oh, okay.
I would say the Pulse Vestige fucking destroyed the whole city where everything bad happened, so there was no one left to object.
That's true.
That's very true. And also, we did just say that they go on the television and tell lies. So if they even did a Gallup poll, everyone probably was like, no, this is bad. But they were like, look, everybody agrees that it's a good thing. So if you think it's bad, you're silly.
Or it was a crazy push poll where the poll was like, do you agree with the Sanctum's handling of protecting our good society from the vile terrorists in the town of Bottom, who would surely have launched an all-out offensive on the rest of Cocoon any day now? And they're like, yeah, I do approve of handling that.
More bad guys appear behind them, and Saz flies up through the clouds to escape. They see a giant something in the sky, which Saz identifies as the Sanctum fal'Cie.
Thank you.
It's got tons of beams of energy coming out of it, which Saz dodges to try and escape their pursuers. But they're shot down!
Oh no!
Womp womp.
The gang crashes in the Vile Peaks in the Cocoon Deadlands. It's a giant trash pit. It's great. I love it.
And it's like it's still only a dungeon on par with Final Fantasy IV and Final Fantasy IX, where it's a hallway with things to do in it, but it is really good, and
It's got
I
good
really
battles.
enjoyed it.
The battle
Yes.
system starts getting good.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that reminds me. I remember last week we have not said a word about the game's battle system. So at the end of this week, we should actually explain like how it works to our lovely
Yeah.
listeners.
Well, last
Absolutely.
week there wasn't much battle system to speak of.
yeah, we didn't even get experience points last week,
That's a
so
good point.
We didn't even have paradigms.
yeah. But
Um,
while I was playing this part, it reminded me of the lighting fixture dungeon in Final Fantasy VII Remake, where it's like you should just not do this. This should just not be a part. Like, this is just a big ol' thing, but it's a good dungeon, so I didn't even care. It's like who wants to just walk across the lighting fixtures? This wasn't even the original game.
Yeah.
But then the dungeon was good. And here it's like, oh, they walk through a junkyard for literal 4 hours of gameplay time, and it rules.
Yeah, that light dungeon, I will say, was interesting because it was filler, right? But it was a filler dungeon literally invented out of nowhere that came in between two not filler dungeons. The two not filler dungeons were the subway and the reactor 5. And the thing is, technically it was filler, but since it was the second of the 3 to happen, maybe the first one, actually the first one of the 3 to happen, I was actually more like the point at which I felt this is going on too long was in the later dungeons, which were actually canonically important.
Yes.
But also that the music was excellent. And again, you can get a long way in a video game if you got good graphics, good music. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
That's helping this game out a lot.
A lot.
When you said lighting fixture dungeon, my brain, I immediately thought you were talking about when Tifa is jumping across chandeliers in the tower, and I was like, that part? But no, the part you were talking about is actually good.
Yes.
Lightning splits off from the group because they want to rest, and she doesn't. Hope follows her. Saz and Vanille rest for like 20 seconds. Not an exaggeration. I'm probably, in fact, being generous. Then they head off together.
The way they want you to read the scene, I know because it says in the data log, is that he's like, no, like, what's the point in even going forward? They're just going to catch up with us anyways. Like, why push ourselves just to die later? And so they leave, and Vanille's like, come on, dude, like, you don't actually just get your ass up. And he's like, okay, fine, and gets up, but then they get separated by the falling thing in a second.
Yeah, so technically they do get separated due to a stupid contrivance where something broke and closed off their path. But it definitely reads more like, wow, our party just got split because one guy wanted to take a breather for 30 seconds.
Absolutely.
Yeah, y'all are right, and I am also right. We're both right.
It's really
High fives all around.
Yes.
In fact, I know that I was on data log duties this time around. I read every entry in the data logs except for the event where they re-explain the cutscenes to you. Those, I read like half of them, and then my girlfriend was sitting there next to me, and I figured I'm probably being very boring right now just reading all these, especially since, as Sam said last time, half of them like recap what we already know before going on to saying something new. So after I got past chapter 3, I stopped. So that is I will not be able to provide any insight in that particular zone.
Fun fact, they got good in the end. They stopped.
Just as I stopped reading them, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Because the more I started reading them, the more I was like, oh, the more we get into this game's plot, the less they have to explain backstory, so the less they're giving me new information. But, well, fuck me.
Yeah. Anywho.
We see a flashback to Vanille watching the fireworks in Bodum. Day 11. We see Lightning watching the fireworks as well. A lieutenant in her corps comes up and gives her a friendly, hard time. They mention an incident at an energy plant that has SciComm in its ISI. There was an incident at an energy plant, just like Final Fantasy VII. and
it was on day... No, it wasn't on day 7. It was on day 5. Never mind.
And they finally start to introduce the fact that something was found in Bodum. Lightning explains she's taking tomorrow off for her 21st birthday because her sister insisted on it. The lieutenant says he's going to recommend her for officer training, then says to stay out of SciComm business. It'll bring nothing but grief. Back in the present, Hope asks Lightning if they should wait for the others. Lightning says they'll catch up eventually and presses onward. Unfortunately, their path does get cut off by a stupid thing. After a while, they come to a huge wall, and Hope asks Lightning if she knows where she's going. She says she's been here on missions before. Hope asks if it was anything to do with the Purge. Lightning explains that she was in Guardian Corps, not SciComm, and then she spends a long time explaining the different branches of the Sanctum military. He asks why she was on that train. She says, "For Sarah." Flashback, Day 13, Bodum Station. We see the Purge deportees being rounded up onto the train. Lightning saunters up and tells a SciComm soldier she wants to be purged. He whispers to her that only civs get purged. Sanctum staff and soldiers are exempt. Of course. She hands him her sword and says she quits. She gets in line next to Saz, who's like, "Why'd you volunteer? You don't seem ready to go quiet into that good night." So misquoted Dylan Thomas also exists in this world. She says, "If you want quiet, take the next train." I find this funny because in the opening she pointedly said she was a soldier, but I didn't realize she was a soldier until earlier that day.
Yeah, you think like, oh, it's because of something in your backstory. No, it's because of something that happened an hour ago. This scene is fucking stupid. I just want that was her plan. Her plan to quote infiltrate the train was to walk up and say, "Hey, can I be on the train?" And they're like, "You really don't have to. We're gonna murder everyone on this train." She's like, "Hey, that's all right with me." And they said, "Okay." Like, I don't know. She could have, at the least, put on a cloak, walked into the line secretly, and pretended to be one of them. But heaven forbid that happened. This game has a lot of dumb scenes, but for my money, this was the dumbest scene this week.
Yeah, it's not the best plan.
No.
Though it did work. So
it did work. So who are we to judge?
There you go, I guess.
Yeah, it's almost like Captain Amora or whatever his name is was like, "All right, take some time off for your birthday. You deserve it. Okay, I'm going to take it off by dying. I'll just go sign up to be murdered. That's my birthday plans."
Lightning says in voiceover that she had to get to the vestige before they returned it to Pulse so that she could save Sarah. Her only option was to join the Purge. Back in the present, Hope says he could never do something like that. Lightning says it's not a matter of can or can't. There are some things in life you just do. Which is true.
Yeah, it's good, actually.
She climbs the wall and Hope's like, "What the fuck? She left me. I can't climb a wall." Saz and Vanille take a different path, but find their way to Hope regardless. Hope is pouty and says he doesn't have a home right now because Mom is ... Vanille's like, "Do you have a dad?" Flashback to day 11. Mom and Hope are watching the fireworks, and Mom makes a wish that that next year Dad can come with them. Hope gets pouty and says it's better like this. We don't need him. He voiceovers, explaining, finally, that the Sanctum found the Pulse Falsi in Bottom, and that they sealed off the town. He and Mom couldn't get back to Palom Polum. Back in the present, Hope says Mom fought because she wanted to get them home. Snow tricked her. He used her. Most of that he just said was not an answer to Vanille's question and was unrelated.
I had not thought about that because it does make logical sense that he says that given what we, the player, have non-diegetically just witnessed.
Yeah, it flows well, but when you think about the conversation they're having, it's like, what the fuck?
She's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Sorry, I was just having a flashback."
Vanille says they'll get him home. His dad must be worried about him. Hope says Dad doesn't care. Stas says any father cares. Stas and Vanille decide to take Hope home. Eventually, they come upon a wrecked Pulse warship. Vanille's like, wow, they made it this far? Stas explains Pulse forces never got into Cocoon during or since the war. Hope explains that after the war, people couldn't live near the room anymore in places like the Hanging Edge, so the Sanctum Fal'Cie gathered up scrap from Pulse here for rebuilding. This is all that's left over. Apparently the Pulse Fal'Cie was mixed in with all this originally. Eventually they run into Lightning, and they're all reunited. Saz says that Lightning should smile more. The reunited party heads off together. Eventually they reach a boss arena. A boss appears. They fight it and soldier on. After a while, they stop and rest. Saz says they don't even know where to go. Lightning says she does, and looks into the sky. Eden, the Sanctum seat of power. Lightning says it started with the Pulse Fal'Cie taking Sarah, and now the Sanctum's hunting her, but pulling their strings is another Fal'Cie. A Fal'Cie that probably ordered the Purge, too. Pulse and Sanctum Fal'Cie are all the same, and humans are all the same to them, expendable. Lightning states her aim to destroy the Fal'Cie. But if she does that, it's lights out for Cocoon. Vanille says Sarah told them to save Cocoon, and that it might be their focus to do so. Lightning says their focus doesn't matter. She doesn't take orders from Fal'Cie. She assures them that she's out to take down Sanctum, not destroy the world. My doesn't want to destroy the world shirt has people asking a lot of questions already answered by my shirt. And if it did,
I think I may have said the exact same thing to my girlfriend while playing the game.
And if it came to that, what, she wonders, would their, quote, hero, unquote, do to stop her?
I love that. So she's like, they're like, she's like, I want to destroy Eden. And they're like, destroying Eden would functionally destroy the world. She goes, no, don't worry. I don't want to destroy the world, just Eden. But what if I, but she's like, yeah, and what if I did though? Like, I'm not going to, but like, so fucking what are you going to do about it?
I could if I wanted.
She's right. She could if she wanted.
Yeah.
After getting some more levels.
I like how Lightning's thing is that, you know, people have often said she's supposed to be a female version of Cloud. But I feel like the whole idea for a character, what if Cloud was as stoic and cool as Cloud and players thought Cloud was?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, FF13 is definitely a response to the incorrect cultural memory of FF7. I mean, FF13's existence is part of the reason why I always figured a remake of FF7 would be bad, right? Because, like, things like FF13, things like Advent Children, no shit on Advent Children, by the way, it's dope. Things like everything Square has made about FF7 since FF7, things that, you know, FF13 is very emblematic of the trajectory of the company at the time. Like, an FF game is in many ways like, an FF game is like a State of the Union for Square. It's like, all right, here's where we're at. And when FF13 came out, the here's where we're at was like, yikes. Yeah, and you're 100% right about that. But not like, I don't think it's like intentional though. I think it's an unintentional thing because they're like, yeah, Cloud, that cool guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Famously, canonically, guy who's definitely cool. Cloud Strife.
But I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with Lightning. Lightning is so far, I love her. She is a great protagonist. Well,
yeah, no, she's dope.
Maybe not a great person so far, but
yeah, it's really great. Cool how her motivation is literally, I don't give a shit about any of that. I just want, look, those guys are bad, and I want to murder them. That's her motivation.
God.
I want to fuck them up because I'm mad at them, and maybe that'll fix all the problems. Maybe it won't. It'll make me feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Though I do think in her emotional logic, it will also fix the problems.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, secretly, she's being as emotional and irrational as Snow is.
Yeah,
She's
100%.
just cooler, so it doesn't come off that way as much.
The only person in this party who is actually making reasonable points and thinking of the situation is Saz.
Absolutely.
He's the only one. Every time he says, "Hey guys, maybe we should stop walking through a hallway and killing bad guys and yelling at each other for 5 seconds and think about like, hey, what was that Ragnarok thing? Why did we all say it in unison? What's going on with Pulse? Actually, now that I think about it, everything we learn about Pulse, where someone asks like a question and then says like, "Oh yeah, no one's been in Pulse for hundreds of years." Oh, like now that I think about it, most of the lore we get in this chapter is prompted by a question asked by Saz. Yeah, I mean everyone else is like, "Nah, man, we don't need to talk. We can fix the problem by doing X," where X is either try our best, run away, attack and dethrone God, or save Sarah, question mark, asterisk, how? Yeah, anyway. Or, sorry, I just covered 4 of the characters. Be a lesbian, that's the other one. Not on screen at the moment, but theoretically.
Yes.
Yes.
I recognized her name when her first cutscene we saw her in earlier didn't have her name, but they like gave her question mark, but then they never revealed it. They just gave her subtitle names later, so whatever. But I recognize her as an important character, but that's how I know she's in the party, but she is not currently.
I mean, she has character design.
What my girlfriend said word for word.
But so do Maki and Huge, the important people that are named characters, and Snow's mom is not.
They have slightly less character design.
Character design is a quantifiable concept, and some characters have more of it than others. And Maki and such and Gado have enough character design to be named cutscene characters, but not enough character design to be party members.
Yes.
Like, look at Biggs and Wedge in FF7 Remake. They have character design, nowhere near as much as Cloud and Tifa and Barrett.
Yeah. I mean, you're really going to tell me that guy who just looks like Ty from Digimon is going to be in the party? Get out of here.
But since you brought up character design in Final Fantasy VII specifically, when I've played it for the first time back in the day, Jessie has way too much character design for the amount of time she is in the original Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, yeah.
I always thought she was going to join the party because she is very character design.
Maybe that's why they gave her so much stuff in Remake.
Yeah, maybe they just knew they made a banger. I thought she was going to join the party in the remake. Like, wouldn't that be a really clever and unexpected twist to have a character who previously did not join the party? That'd be pretty cool. They didn't go with that. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got to get through this.
Yeah.
Saz is like, now you and Snow are enemies? She says, when we meet again, we might be too. And walks off. Vanille voiceover saying Lightning was suffering, reaching out to them, but none of them could see it. If only Vanille had been stronger, none of this would have happened, she says. Since Lightning and Hope are both on the snow-hating team, he chases after her, leaving Saz and Vanille wondering what to do. Lightning tells Hope she can't babysit him anymore. Hope says he can fight. He's not afraid. A SciComm squad shows up. Lightning and Hope fight them off. Lightning's like, you're pretty good. She tells him if he comes with her, it'll be fight after fight. He says okay, because he needs to get stronger, so he can kill Snow, presumably. She tells him to call her Light. She says the plan is to go through Gapra Whitewood to Palampolam, where they'll find transport to Eden. They continue on, and we get a dumb section where Hope pilots a mech for no reason, then crashes it. Hope starts lagging behind. Yes.
Just quick little heads up here. So just so we're clear here, their goal is to go through a dungeon so they can get to another dungeon so they can actually get to their destination. If you're wondering, when do they get to Eden? I'll spoil it. It's the final dungeon. of the game. Obviously I'm being reductive. Other things happen that prevent them from getting there. But yeah, they're like, right off the bat, they're like, let's go to Eden and kill God. And that's, we might as well just end it here. That's the rest of the game, folks.
Yeah. That kind of reminds me of Final Fantasy 15. That was my big problem with it, because in most Final Fantasies and RPGs in general, they're like, oh, hey, we got to go do the thing, and then twists happen that prevent them from doing it. But Final Fantasy 15 is like, oh no, we got to get over to the water town and do the watery thing. And then for 14 chapters, 14 of the 15 chapters, that's what you're doing. And you just go there, and things happen along the way. And yeah, I didn't like it much there, but I'm glad it is happening again, because I like being wrong.
The thing is, in Final Fantasy 15, the main thing preventing you from completing your goals is you're too busy grilling.
And
True.
fishing and doing hunts
and taking
photographs and searching for secret tapes. No, wait, that's
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2.
That's Metal Gear Solid 5 and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. You know what? More games should have a bonus mode where you skateboard. Metal Gear Solid 2 Substance had, for the Xbox, was a Xbox exclusive temporarily re-release or port of Metal Gear Solid 2 with lots of bonus features. And one of the bonus features was a skateboarding minigame where you skateboard around the game's levels and do tricks. It's pretty fun, and like, I don't know, just like FF13 skateboarding, you know? Ooh, this is gonna blow your mind. This is such an original concept. FF7 snowboarding.
Oh, wow, that'd be great. Let's do that.
Skateboarding around in Final Fantasy 13 would be miserable because of how weird the camera controls.
Oh, yeah. That's true. And the fact that all the levels are mostly made of rubble.
Yeah. I haven't talked yet about how I hate the camera in this game, but I hate the camera in this game.
Okay, this game, why did no one talk about this at the time? People talk about battle system this, battle system that, plot this, plot that, graphics, lesbians. No one talks about how the game controls like dog shit.
It does. Walking around doesn't feel good either.
No. So the camera first, and the weirdest thing is they made this game after FF12, which controls normal. FF12, just a simple act of running around, talking to people, moving your camera, feels like any other game. I would argue it feels a little bit better than any other game. Like it's totally functional, you know? Mm-hmm. But in this game, you run around feeling like, as my girlfriend said, buttered ice. And it feels like a damn Assassin's Creed game. You run around like buttered ice, and also, so the movement's already really janky. But then also the camera, I think it's because you're doing that thing where the camera's always trying to set itself in, like the camera's always moving itself automatically. Like, like if you didn't touch the camera, it would probably constantly be like swinging into a new position. Like the way that, like FF10, right? FF10, you don't control your camera. And it's constantly moving to have a new angle or something like that, just sort of swoop with whatever you're doing. This game tries to do that, but also let you control it. So, like, yeah, you're constantly wrestling with it. And it's got a weird momentum. And it's like, I know that 3D games having bad camera controls is like a trope, but that was a trope from like the years 1996 through 2005. Like, this was years after that. Like, what year was this? 2009? 2009?
Yeah, I think it's 2009.
Like, by this point, 3D games had normal cameras. And again, they had already made one. They'd already made FF12. It's bizarre how bad it feels to just move your character around in this game. It actively was getting to me at some points.
Yeah, especially because this later half of Chapter 4 are like full on dungeony things where it's like, oh, I need to go over here and press this button, and then I need to turn around and go over here and do this other button. So I have to move my camera to do things because I'm not just walking up a hallway, and it exemplified how horrible it was.
Also, one more complaint. I'm not big on the whole, like, games have to have X, like, quality of life or not accessibility, that's not the word. X feature, otherwise I don't like it, you know? Like that, like people can get, especially people in Western game design, can get very, like, very dogmatic about, like, if your game doesn't let you save anywhere, it's bad. If your game doesn't let you adjust the FOV, it's bad. That's annoying. But I will say, okay, first of all, if your game doesn't let you adjust the sound of your music compared to other sound effects, it's bad. But secondly, wait, the one I was actually gonna say and complain about here. There's a thing where it's like the game doesn't do this. Huh?
Is it zooming out your camera? Because I think
no. Oh, that's a good point. No, it's first person view. Is there an argument for games where you intentionally don't implement a first person perspective because of artistic integrity and vision? You know what? Maybe. I could see it, you know, certain games. But most games, especially games where sometimes there's really things that you want to look at, or like a cute dog or something, buddy, let me click that right thumbstick and get that first person view. I don't have to be able to move around while it's happening. That's crazy. It's in Kingdom Hearts 2 here. But, like, you know, go into first person, and then I'm standing still, and I can look around at the cute dog or the pretty graphics that your artist put so much time and work into. There were a bunch of moments in this game where I clicked the right thumbstick, forgetting that you can't go into first person because I really wanted to look at something.
I hadn't thought of that, but with how much graphics this game has, that would be a good feature.
Also, you know, maybe you want to fail. I'll admit you would fail, but you might misguidedly be briefly delusioned into thinking that maybe if you could get a first-person view, you could find out what something is or what it's supposed to look to be, what it's attempting to look like. You would, again, you cannot, but you might think, man, if only I had a better look at that abstract catastrophe of a 3D art asset, maybe I could parse it as an identifiable object.
So Hope starts lagging behind and trips and falls like an idiot. Lightning says, "This isn't working. He's a liability." But then her brand starts glowing and she falls to her knees. This does not stop her from telling Hope that he sucks, and if he wants to get stronger, he can do it on his own.
Yeah, she's like clutching her heart in pain on the floor, dying, and she still is like, Hope, you fucking suck.
God, Hope, I hate... you're so bad. You're giving me physical pain because you suck so much.
I bet you can't even call an ambulance. An Eidolon appears.
Baka.
What?
She calls him a Baka.
A sussy Baka.
An Eidolon appears, and it goes for Hope. Lightning blocks its attack. They defeat it, and it turns into a horse. Lightning obtains the Odin Idolith. So, yeah, a thing in this game is that all the summons are transformers and transform into vehicles of some sort.
Yeah. Also, I parse this scene as I think that the Eidolons appear when you're going through like an emotional crisis of some kind, and they're summoned out of like your intense emotions. I guess Snow's was I couldn't beat the bad guys, and this one though it's very obvious. Like she's having a bit of a breakdown because she fucking hates Hope for being a little bitch, and is sort of losing her, I don't know, faith in herself, or I don't know, whatever. She's having a rough one. And that summoned the creature, and then of course she realizes she does want to save Hope because she instinctively does it. Here's the thing though, they did not build up to this at all. Zero, very, very little build up to like her being this frustrated with Hope. She given him like one line earlier about how like, you better fight if you come with me. So yeah, it came out of nowhere personally, but that's the idea, I think.
Yeah. The data log says that Eidolons are said to be saviors, that they come to rescue hopeless Lassie who
That's
find
right. It
themselves
does say
bound
that.
to a focus against their will. And if this is true, they offer a brand of salvation that few indeed would seek willingly. Without exceptions, Eidolons attack the Lassie whose presences they grace.
It
There you
attacked
go.
Hope initially, but I guess then we fought it as lightning, so
Yeah.
I guess that still works.
Well, and I think
Yeah.
I think it attacked Hope explicitly to get at Lightning. Like it was there
Ye-
for her, right?
Yeah.
The data log for the events for this chapter says, as if to strike down obstacles in Lightning's path, the Eidolon Odin appears and attacks the bewildered Hope. Lightning
go.
moves without thinking. She blocks a deadly blade aimed at the boy she meant to abandon moments before.
Oh, so she's like, Hope sucks. I wish she could be out of my hair. And then Odin's like, what if I killed him? And she's like, no, not like that.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's interesting.
Yeah, that actually is way better. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. Next time I will go back to making sure I read all the data logs. That is good.
And it also the question of like, why the fuck did this even happen that we just had is the text here. The next part says Lightning defeats Odin and brings the entity under her command, but why did the Eidolon appear in the first place?
Oh, so we might find out later.
Yeah.
Also, the thing about it showing up in an emotional crisis, I just realized I am right, and they do explain it later. So that's where I got that from.
Cool.
So I realized
You're right.
I realize that I'm right, but the reason is because I have played the game before, and not because of something that they have said at this point.
So Hope's like, was that an Eidolon like Lassie can summon? Lightning's like, magic and mumbo jumbo. She apologizes to Hope and tells him they'll toughen him up. They continue on their way. After another fight, Hope is clearly exhausted. Lightning lets him take a break while she looks around. She returns to find him sleeping. Saz and Vanille find their way to a crazy factory place with crazy music. I love it. They
This
make
is
it.
Saz's theme.
Oh, the music here is Saz's theme?
I'm pretty sure. You can tell
Oh, that's
because
great.
he's a black man, and the music sounds like jazz.
I see.
I'm not being stereotypical here. The game is.
They make it through the factory, which is a long dungeon where not much happens in the plot, and set up camp. Vanille draws a line in the dirt and tells Saz not to cross it. Saz is like, whatever, I will fuck you. They go to sleep without having a night watch.
You don't need one when you're in a junkyard filled with ancient monsters that are hell-bent on destroying you. That's the one place where you're safe and you don't need a night watch.
And also you're being pursued by armed forces.
They should have just done what FF4 does. And, like, no other RPG has done this since. I'm exaggerating a little bit. But remember FF4? If they had a save point in the middle of a dungeon, it was explicitly in a special room. And it had special little graphics that show that this is like a magic circle. And nothing can hurt you in here. They did that. They canonically explained why you can set up a tent, take a goddamn nap, and save your game in the middle of a dungeon. It's because of a protective magic circle. FF15 brings this back, which was really clever of them. But yeah, like no other game ever since has done that. Very strange.
Doesn't Tella, like, actually have a scene where he explains, oh, we can set up camp here, it'll be safe because of magic?
Yeah, exactly. I think it actually might be in the Tower of Zot, because I think up until that point there had never been a dungeon long enough to have a save point in the middle of it.
Maybe so.
No, I think it happens pretty early.
Oh, okay. Maybe,
I think it
I'm
happens when
misremembering.
Tella, Cecil, and green hair.
Rydia.
I almost called her Renoa.
Are traveling through the
That's a different
mountains?
person. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
I think at that point, it happens at that point because then, like, Cecil and Tella get to have a talk while Rydia is sleeping. I
Again,
played this fairly recently.
FF4 sure does a lot of really smart things with the JRPG format that other games came after it decided, nah, that's not important. It turns out making a game, especially a good game, especially a good JRPG, actually requires a lot of thought and care and craft, and you can't just slap it together without thinking about this kind of stuff. And yet,
Hello,
people.
I just realized that this is during our Square moratorium, and we have now mentioned 4, 7, 9, 12, 15 of the Final Fantasies that
that's
aren't.
just
And 7 remake. So we have mentioned 6 of the games that we're not supposed to be talking about right
We'll
now.
see if it turns up. We'll see if it comes up in conversation. But I mentioned 6 a lot while playing this game. Hey, whatever, man. This is LongCast. It's a separate thing. We are in Square Moratorium. We're playing this game for unrelated reasons, and we're talking about all the games that we're not playing.
Yes.
Yes, so Saz wakes up to find Vanille huddled against him, crying in her sleep. Her facade is finally breaking down. Still a kid, he says. We see a big airship docking with a massive airship. Handcuffed Snow and Mystery Woman chat on the bridge of the big airship. They seem friendly. They board the massive airship, the Lindblom of the Sanctum Guardian Corps. Isn't Lindblom a name from something in previous Final Fantasy games?
So I was going to mention it during Mimbombs, but both calling the summons Eidolons, that started in FF9, also I think 11. And Lindblom is a town, though I think it's also an airship from Final Fantasy IX. I find the FF9 references weird, especially the Eidolons, because this game is extremely, like, first of all, it's super sci-fi, but also it's like weird crystal new agey woo-woo fantasy, and FF9 is very like medieval old-timey fantasy. And I don't know. I think that calling summons Eidolons is weird. I don't think it jives with the vibe of the game. I also think that naming something Lindblom is weird. They should have named it like La apostrophe Zarnoth or something like that.
Some anime-looking guy walks up, and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking all these guys look anime, but this guy looks especially anime.
Yep.
He walks up and introduces himself as Sid Raines, Brigadier General of the Fleet. Sid says he wants to ask Snow some questions. Drones carry Sarah by, and Sid says she must have completed her focus. As a tainted pulse l'Cie, that is. Snow resists, and Mystery Woman beats him up as Sid muses about the Sanctum's methods of dealing with l'Cie. He says they already have intel on the other l'Cie. Snow says they'll never catch them. Sid says they'll need Snow's help then. We're almost done. Flashback, Day 7 in Bodum. Sarah's breaking up with Snow, but he doesn't know why. Eventually she reveals that she was branded by the Pulse Fal'Cie. Snow collapses in despair, and Sarah runs away. After a few moments, Snow runs after her. He finds her standing on a pier, or a wharf, I forget the difference. He asks Sarah what her focus is, and says he'll help her. He says he'll be with her no matter what. She says she doesn't know her focus. She's gonna be a monster. Snow says they'll figure it out together. They embrace. She says even if they succeed, she'll turn into crystal. He says she'll still be alive, and they'll always be together. The end.
The end.
The end
Of the game.
Yeah.
Credits.
Unlike last time, this is actually the Luna save at the end of chapter 4. So we will resume with chapter 5, in which Snow is captured. Actually, I'll give you an interesting heads up here. You know how in this chapter we were switching back and forth between characters a lot? I think that for maybe some technical reason, the game can't switch between environments within a chapter, because this chapter, it's all switching back and forth between characters that are still in the same place. Chapters 2 and 3 were the same way. Chapter 5, the characters are now in different places. One character group is in the Gapra Whitewood. The other character group is in I don't know, and Snow is captured. So chapter 5 is just Lightning and Snow Lightning and Hope in the Gapra Whitewood. You don't switch characters. And then the next chapter is Vanille and Saz in wherever they are.
When I'm taking notes, I mix up Hope and Snow's names all the time.
Me too.
Me too. It's nuts.
They're very different.
Yeah,
They don't
all
even
they have
like
in
each
common
other.
is that they're one syllable.
Yep. And an O sound.
Oh, and an O sound.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Hope just okay. Look, the big burly guy who's endlessly optimistic and never gives up hope should be called Hope, and the tiny little bitch who's annoying and also
Who has white hair.
who has white hair should be called Snow. That's all I'm saying.
True. But yeah, let's listen to some music. I had it planned out earlier and I don't remember what it is, so I'll think of it again and we'll listen to that and then talk about our memorable moments.
Anyway, let's start with Maddie Grace since she might have to leave.
Right. As I mentioned in the other casts, I'm injured and was sitting in my bed playing this game. And when some mim-moms happened, I thought I should write those down, but wasn't able to because of my lack of notebook. But I do have a couple that are on my phone, which I'm currently digging around for. So actually, I'll go first.
Oh,
Where's my phone?
sorry, I was.
Okay, I can say a little bit. So let's talk about the battle system real quick. So this game's battle system. We're in a bit of disagreement here. The canonical opinion on this game's battle system is that it sucks shit. My opinion when I last played it was that it largely sucked shit. Sam and Bernard seem to be coming around a little bit on it. I haven't, although there are certainly moments where it's neat. The whole way it works is, remember how in FF10-2 you could change what class your character is in real time? Well, this game you can do that too. But instead of changing your classes, you change your paradigms, which is that you do a preset where all three characters are certain classes.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of being like, all right, time for Yuna to turn into a caster, it's like, no, you hit a button and now Lightning turns into a magic caster and Saz turns into a healer and Vanille turns into a support buff character all at once, which is pretty cool. The game is really fast paced. It has this break system, which kind of works. It's kind of cool. But I think that the main vibe in this game isn't about individually controlling any particular aspect of the battles, but about like keeping track of just where you're at. It's about like managing. You're a battle manager in this game.
Yeah. Even more so even more so than you were in Final Fantasy XII, which was its whole thing.
You just like keep track of your vibe, and if you notice people are getting too hurt, you switch to healing. If you notice that your attacks don't seem to be working very well, you might want to debuff them. You might just debuff them by default, but you probably won't because that's a time an opportunity cost, right? So you're like, you know what? I think I should debuff them. Or you're thinking, so you're like a coach, like a football coach. Yeah, you're giving these like high level strategic instructions to your characters and then letting them, handle it. Sometimes it is very interesting. I found the game to be mostly dull. I found that it was either too simple and it was just mashing buttons and winning a battle in 5 seconds, even towards the end of this chapter. Sometimes it would get more complex, but in a way where it was like, there's so much going on the screen and it's so hard to parse the information that you don't really feel like you can, it's complex, not in a good way, but in like a, well, now this is just unmanageable kind of way. But there are definitely moments where you're like, I really liked, so there was a whole section in this game. You tend to want to have one commander and one, or commando, and one ravager. Because this is getting way too technical. Ravagers make an enemy's break meter fill up a lot, but then it goes back down. Commandos make the break meter stop going back down, and also they do more damage. So you generally want to have 2 Ravagers and 1 Commando to get that break meter up. But there's a lengthy section in the game where you have 2 characters who cannot be Commandos. They haven't unlocked that class yet. So you have to deal with having 2 Ravagers as your only party mechanic. And that part was really neat. You had to deal with an issue involving not being able to use the game strategies in the intended method. Also, I will say last week, if I recall, there was a battle, no, this week, where the whole thing was they had just taught us to paradigm shift. Like, that was the whole thing. The game was like, here's how to paradigm shift. Isn't it cool how to paradigm shift? You should shift into medic to heal when you need to heal. Here's the thing, though. I found out that switching to medic was taking too long and making it too hard to beat the battle because I would lose, opportunity cost of hitting the enemy during its like break stance or whatever. So you know what I did? I never paradigm shifted, and when I was low on health, I used a potion.
Yeah.
So I just beat the battle really quickly by not doing the thing the game was telling me to do.
I don't know. I found myself paradigm shifting all the time, having lots of fun, figuring out the best thing to do for a particular moment, seeing enemies in the distance and being like, if that's what I'm going to fight, I should go into the menu and set this as my paradigm. I want to have the saboteur. I want to have a saboteur so that I can make sure to debuff that tough enemy first, or I want to go in with a commando and 2 ravagers because I want to take out that enemy first. Before I do anything else. I don't know. I really enjoyed it once it started opening up.
And also it is fun to assess problems in your strategic approach. Like in one battle I realized, I need to have a paradigm that is 1 commando and I forget what it was, but I was like I need one that is a commando and a saboteur because I want to debuff the enemies, but I want to make sure that I don't lose my chain bonus while that's happening. And I didn't have that before, so I was like, I identified a problem, and now we'll go into the menu and modify my shit to fix the problem. Yeah, I was constantly having to use my noggin, but I do think that over 50% of the battles were not fun.
I had a blast in the battle system this week. It reminded me of Final Fantasy IV, where you never get to pick your party in Final Fantasy IV, and eventually we will get to pick our party in this game later, because everyone is like, oh, wait till chapter such and such, where it's an open world game and you can pick your party. That's when the battle system gets good. But I like the fact that, like you were saying, it forces you to be Saz and Vanille, and both of them had been my support characters until then. Like you literally just got out of the tutorial where Saz learned his buff and debuff spells. Like he is not leading man material, and yet here he is in the lead. And then putting those things together and trying to figure out like how to what enemies respond to what for their break meter and stuff like that, and which ones you can just kill and get them out of the way, but they hit really hard. Like when the whole. So like it starts with the Shiva fight. The Shiva fight, they're Shiva sisters, they're called. They have individual names, but the Shiva sisters with Snow, they join your party if you get their break meter up. And to do that with Snow's limited stuff is you had to use Ravager, and you had to use specifically his strike moves and not his just spells, and so that you could get a high combo and get that going. And so it made me have to like know that strike moves are faster. So if somebody has a really fast thingy, I need to be focusing on strike moves. And so it started with there, and then the next part introduced factions, so that you had 2 different kinds of robots fighting, and that taught me that the pulse robots are a lot scarier than the other robots are. So I was focusing on them, but then later when we get the bombs, they are super weak and you can take them down like 2 hits. But if you don't do that first, they'll self-destruct and like fuck you up. And so I was constantly learning new things, applying new things, making my way through it. Every time I wanted it to just be, let me set up my commando and two Ravagers and I could just smash A because I'm trying to do something else, I got punished for it, and I couldn't actually ever smoothly get through a fight doing it that way without wasting like a Phoenix down and a couple of potions, because I just was getting my ass kicked if I wasn't engaging the whole time.
Nice. Real quick, I have my memos now. There's a couple. So first of all, this game's got really cool enemy designs. Most of them, you see it and you're like, oh, is that some kind of very creative and interesting twist on a classic FF monster type? And usually it's actually not. It's like, no, this is just some monster we made up. It's not like a twist on a COERL or anything like that. But sometimes it does. There's this one enemy that shows up and you're like, what the fuck is that? When you see it on the map, and it's like, it's basically a D20. It's like a floating D20, just a little guy just flopping around. And then you fight it, and the D20 starts being on fire, and then you look at the menu and realize that's this game's version of a bomb. The bomb redesign is so cool. In addition, if you are in the data log and you look at the Chocobo chick, what lives in Saz's hair, it says that the chick has no name because voicing the true identity of the animal might trigger ripples of destiny across Cocoon and cause a hurricane in Eden. Or maybe Saz hasn't thought of a name yet.
It's so good.
Which is very cute writing. Also, Lightning's superior person at work is this cool Boston guy. He's like, hey, Light, you need to take a day off tomorrow. It's your birthday. Hey, don't go investigating that thing, all right? I don't want you to get in trouble now. He's kind of got that accent. His name is Amodar. If you ask me, he looks vaguely like, and I guess I just said he has a Boston accent, but now let's go back to it being more Brooklyn. Looks vaguely like Puerto Rican or something. So he's like this game's version of like a Puerto Rican Brooklyn guy. Very cool guy. Also, finally, I've said it once and I'll say it again. What the fuck is a Brigadier General? And finally, the extremely funny part where Snow is in a battle and then has a cutscene and then gets a summon, and the game says, wow, you got a summon. You get an extra ATB bar. You got 4 now. Also, you can do summons. You're also not going to play as Snow for the rest of the chapter.
Yeah.
It's really funny how they make a big deal of unlocking summons and having a ATB bar and then immediately switch to a different character who doesn't get to do that. And you're like, wait, what is summons like? And then like an hour later, they're like, okay, now Lightning has summons and we'll do a tutorial on how to do summons. Get you curious how summons work in this game. They're stupid.
Yes.
Yeah, they're pretty dumb.
and I have no idea how they work. All right, cool. That's all I got. Oh, data log. I gotta drop some knowledge. So Falsey, the good quote unquote good guy, Cocoon Falsey. So there's Eden, which is the one that's like the boss of everything. It's like God. It's also the only one that talks to the Pope. The other ones are all silent. It communicates with them. There's also the one that is the sun that we saw earlier. And
that's Phoenix.
Turns out there are around 8 million Cocoon Falsey.
What?
There's 8 million of them.
That's a lot.
They're just tripping gods, and the gods make everything work. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Citadel. How in Mass Effect, the Citadel is like a giant space station that is maintained by all of these complex AI robots that no one knows how they work. And if you see a Citadel keeper going around doing something, you should probably just let him do whatever he's doing because it's probably important. But no, their world is so artificial that it is all kept running not by natural properties of physics and nature, but by the operation of literally 8 million little deity-like creatures. That are probably invisible or unknown or something like that. So that's a fun little little datoid. I'm gonna try and remember one more thing, and then I'm gonna peace out. Because I do know that I said I was supposed to share interesting things of that nature. Oh yeah, also the data log tries to present it as if the reason why they ordered the purge was because the general populace was clamoring so hard for it. It's got lines that are like, yeah. Okay, cool. It's got lines that are like, yeah, everyone in Cocoon was like really bloodthirsty, really out for blood because they were so scared of the people from Bottom. So therefore, the Sanctum had to do the purge, and Eden, the god, was conspicuously silent and gave its tacit consent but not doing anything. And I'm like, that's a weird way to shift the blame, the narrator of this game. Why do you think the people were so bloodthirsty for and fearful of polls? What could have caused them to be that way? Anyway, it's very. I actually thought that was, again, maybe a mismatch of writing or them just being interesting. It's weird because that seems like a lie. If the bad guys had said it, or if anyone had said it, I'd be like, they're just lying or wrong. But it's literally the game's narration that says it, which is weird. Cool. That's all I got. The person who's coming to visit is currently walking to my house, so I have to go right now, but I appreciate the hell out of y'all helping us working. We all work together to finish this on time. And yeah, goodbye, and I'll see y'all next week.
So, since we're on the topic of data logs, I have one, and it's this entire data log entry called Eden or Bust. It is when Lightning says that she's going to go punch God in the face because that's all she knows how to do. And the writing of it was really, really good. And the data logs have gone from a previously on type feel like they did in chapters 1 and 2 to being, so, like the hardest part of adapting a book into a screenplay is that in a book, you can put in 5 paragraphs of talking about your feelings and exposition and stuff between 2 characters saying what's up and not much. But you can't do that in a movie. And that's kind of what's going on here. And this feels like all of the outside of quotes paragraphs of a book. So it says, Lightning makes a decision. The Pulse Fal'Cie transformed her and Sarah into l'Cie. The Sanctum Fal'Cie, Eden, directs the army hunting her down. Pulse or Sanctum, Fal'Cie means one thing to Lightning, an enemy responsible for ruining their lives. A clear-cut enemy is something that she can deal with. Having a target is something she can understand. This former soldier means to infiltrate the Sanctum capital and take out the Fal'Cie Eden. She knows that her plan is reckless. It could be disastrous for Cocoon and flies in the face of Sarah's last wish. It could even end in a battle against Snow, who will do anything to save Cocoon, but is the only path that will satisfy her rage. Saz and Vanille oppose her idea, but Hope embraces the opportunity. This is his chance to grow stronger and finally confront Snow. Lightning is done running away. And I really like it. At first I thought the data log was like covering up the bad writing, and that was the only reason that I liked it. I would watch a cutscene and be like, whatever, and then read the data log and figure it out. But now I'm enjoying reading it because it lets me lets me in and see their stuff, and I really like it.
Yeah, that's cool. It sounds like the data log is just sort of like a good light novel adaptation of this game.
Yeah. And another data log memorable moment that I have is on the Pope's entry. It talks about he's the Pope and blah, 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 blah. And then it says this sentence that is so unlike the real world that it made me giggle. So it says, until now, he has been seen as a conservative leader, never forcing the direction of the council and always having the best interests of the people at heart. I was like, that's not what conservative means. But yeah, that's those. I then also love that I mentioned it earlier, but Maki, the Digimon looking guy, and Yuge, the blue haired guy that Snow was like, "You're in charge now. I'm going on a JRPG." They are named characters, and Hope's mom is not, and she is the inciting incident of this game, and they are just some guys, but she doesn't get a name. And I thought that was hilarious.
Moms
But,
don't have names. They're mom.
It's true. I also I mentioned it earlier, but I really really liked Chapter 4. It was real darn good. It made me get the game, and I'm like, okay, everything I had heard basically about the game is either wrong or blown out of proportion, because Chapter 4 is real good, and I really liked it.
Yeah, I have a whole lot of negative things to say about this game, but I like it. I'm enjoying myself. I look forward to playing more.
Me too. Did you have any other particular mem-moms to bring up?
Yes, back when the party is all together, Snow is thinking he's a hero, and he's like, "I'll keep these kids out of trouble." And Saz says, "Problem with that is, you're one of them." And I like that line. I like how Saz is fed up with all these children.
It's true.
I looked up his age, and Saz is 40 years old, and, everyone else is, like, around half his age. So I mean, I'm 30, and I know if I was hanging out with 20-year-olds, I'd be like, oh my God.
Yeah. Can't stand kids.
I wouldn't be able to keep up with them.
Yeah. Related, me and Summer were talking yesterday, because Summer was like, "Oh, if I do that, I'll lose my edge, and the teens won't like me anymore." I'm like, "Name 5 teenagers that aren't your nieces and nephews," and she couldn't. We don't even know 5 teenagers anymore, and I just think that's a weird portion of our life to be in, that we don't know any teenagers.
Mm-hmm. One thing about this game I love is that, you have your paradigms we talked about. Every paradigm combination has a name.
Yeah.
There are 77 possible combinations, and each of them has a name. Like, if you have a commando and a medic, they're called War and Peace. If you have a Ravager and a Saboteur, it's called Undermine. If you have a Sentinel and a Saboteur, it's called Stumbling Block.
They're good.
They came up with 77 names for each combination of things you can do, and it makes it much easier to switch between them, because when you press LB and it brings up your list, you don't have to be like, okay, that one is Commando, Ravager, and Medic. You're just like, oh, that one is Variety. So I click that. Yeah, I love that about this game. This game just has so much packed into it, and it's very maximalist, but not as good as putting it all together. That's what counts, the art of making art, as a Legend of Heroes game is.
Yeah. That did remind me, speaking of whatever we were just talking about, brain doesn't work, but in the menus, when you go to the statuses, all of their pictures are like a live photo from an iPhone. It's like you bring it up, and they like finish moving into their little screenshot of their face, and it looks really slick. I really like it.
Yeah, it's a really nice touch. And I will say, I kind of don't like that the roles are called things like Commando and Medic. Like, it works, it's fine. I'm not mad. I'm laughing. I just think it could be like Fighter, White Mage, Black Mage. We have words for this already.
Yeah, it's silly. We were talking
Deep Saboteur and Synergist and things like that, because
those sound like,
don't want to be like Green Mage and Orange Mage.
Yeah. So earlier we were talking about like modern modern quality of life things to put into this game. So if they did a 13 remastered for modern consoles, I wouldn't change much, but I think the thing that would make this game shine a little bit better is if you took off the level caps, and so that like being put into a position where, oh shit, Saz is my only character and to deal damage, and I've been building him up to be a synergist for the past 5 chapters. Like that then becomes like interesting and things you have to work with, and I like that. But here you get enough experience points that you basically hit the cap on everything the whole time, and so instead of it being a sphere grid of this huge thing that you can do, it's kind of just what order do I do it in for this one chapter, because you'll max it out by the end anyways. Anything else? Bring up?
No, nothing else that I didn't weave into the rest of the thing. I really like the voice acting still, and I think the translation is great. All the issues we have with the writing, I think like 95% of them, it feels like it's an issue with the original script. Like it's hard to say, but just like the problems I have are like with the structure of the story, and what order they're telling things in and things like that. But I think like the actual dialogue, for the most part, is great.
It's a weird flip of most JRPGs. Most JRPGs have great narrative design and crappy writing. This one, I think the writing is all pretty good. It just doesn't have a very cohesive narrative design on how they're actually telling us the story. But all of the lines, all of the voice acting, all of the scenes work. I just wish that more people than just Saz asked questions, because the audience has questions, and it would be nice to have answers.
But yeah, that's all I had.
Dope. So this series could not be done without the support of you guys over on the Ko-Fi. So if you want us to finish out this trilogy and play 13-2 and Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13, head on over to www.rpgbook.club, where you can donate. When you donate, you also get access to polls to pick our next game on the main podcast, and listen to mine and Bernard's main project, which is Book Club Nogaseki, playing through the entire Trail series. And maybe when we get done, we'll be crazy and go back and play the other two series in the Legend of Heroes. Who knows? But you can get access to those a month before everyone else if you are a supporter on the Ko-Fi. So come and hit us up. But of course, as always, the main point of going to www.rpgbook.club is they have a link to our Discord, so you can come and hang out and chat with us, because our Discord is great. I love our Discord. We record the shortcast, longcast, and the main cast live in the Discord. Shout outs to Omega for being here and listening today. They're usually here, which is great. So come and be like them and listen to us live. But for RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Hauk.
And I'm Foul, see you later.
Oh my god.
I accidentally said moments, put the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Nice
All right.
reference to an Adam Sandler film.
That's an Adam Sandler film. I've been seeing it literally since I was like 5, and I have no idea where I got
I
it
don't
from.
100% remember, but I do believe Adam Sandler says that line in some movie that it was one of his.
He says that in Uncut Gems.